Well, Sean, we're still waiting on Joe Biden to announce his pick for vice president, and I feel like he's just milking this thing for all it's worth. But here's what we do know. He promised it will be a female, and that there's a long list of women that we've seen who've been vetted for the job. Well, one of our next guests conducted a focus group last week about Biden's VP candidates, and here was the take on Senator Kamala Harris, who some say is the top pick. Take a look.
I'm going to ask you to vote one of two ways, that she's a sincere person or she's not a sincere person. Raise your hand if you think she's a sincere person. Raise your hand. Okay, and raise your hand if you think she's not a sincere person. All right, everybody was on that side more or less.
All right, well, it looks pretty unanimous. Let's bring in our company. With us today is editor of the Daily Caller and host of WMAL's Morning on the Mall, Vince Coglianese, and political analyst and Newsmax contributor Mark Halperin. Gentlemen, good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, you know I've made my case for Susan Rice. I think you just made the case in that focus group that you did. If you're Joe Biden and you saw that, and I think you have a very selective group of folks in there that represent different parts of the voting population, how concerning would you be if you were Biden looking at the Mark Halperin focus group?
Well, Sean, that was 4 pro-Biden people, 4 pro-Trump people. I was stunned by the unanimity. What's concerning, I think, for people around Joe Biden is it's not just those people who are normal citizens who somehow have developed that impression. There are people very close to Joe Biden who've engaged in what is, in my career, an unprecedented attempt to try to stop Senator Harris from being selected. I'm not sure they'll succeed, but as I say, I've never seen anything like it in covering these vice presidential selections since 1992.
You know,
Vince, Vince, I mean, based on what Mark just said, if you were Biden today, and I'm asking you to be objective on this, if you were Biden and his team, do you think that Harris makes the best choice knowing what you just saw?
Honestly, I mean, first of all, I'm always objective. How dare you? But part of this is, you know, I don't think it's a good look. I mean, if every single person in Mark's focus group comes along and says, yeah, I think she's a phony, that's the kind of thing that a sophisticated political campaign should have detected a long time ago. I'm a little surprised Kamala Harris is even a part of this conversation, because the mood in the country right now, one that is for police reform, is certainly among Joe Biden's base, it would not be supportive of a Kamala Harris. It doesn't take much political memory to recall her in the primary implying rather heavily that Joe Biden was racist for his opposition to forced segregation. And also that moment on that debate stage when Tulsi Gabbard came along and pointed out all of the ways in which she was a prosecutor who was responsible for miscarriages of justice in her time in California. That all adds up to the type of person who probably shouldn't be Joe Biden's running mate at this moment.
You know, one of the other interesting things, Mark, is not just authenticity, but can Kamala Harris be trusted? We saw her on the debate stage actually attacking Biden. I want to show a clip from one of the 2019 debates.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA.
I mean, obviously, relationship's going to come down to this decision. Does it matter that we have a Kamala Harris who has attacked Joe Biden on so many issues and people can play back to that? Do people care?
No, I mean, look, you look at George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan, you look at Joe Biden and Barack Obama. Joe Biden was pretty tough on Barack Obama in the 2008 debates. If you're just talking about personal relationships, Kamala Harris was very close to Beau Biden, and Beau Biden's opinion, obviously, even now that he's gone, matters a lot to Joe Biden and to Jill Biden. I thought Senator Harris would be picked all along, and I made that decision clear publicly. And I can't tell you the number of people who are friends of Joe Biden who reached out to me to say they don't trust her. They don't think she would be a good running mate. They don't think she'd be a good partner if Joe Biden won the White House. They don't think she'd be a good person to lay hands on to basically be considered the presumptive front runner for the next Democratic nomination for president. And so whether that's broken through to Joe Biden or not, I don't know. She does have national campaign experience. And the reason why I thought she'd be picked in part was because she was the only one of woman of color who had that. Susan Rice, Sean's candidate, I think, kind of upsets that system. She doesn't have candidate experience, but she knows presidential politics super well.
You know, Vince, going off that, I think that this is why I would normally in any other season totally agree with Mark. But the thing is that I think if you're Biden, he really seems to enjoy the buddy chumminess of relationship that he wants out of his running mate, a relationship that he seemingly had with Obama. And I think that despite the relationship that Kamala Harris may have had with Beau, I don't know entirely what the relationship is with Susan Rice, but it seems to me that it's a lot more chummy on a personal level because of the time that they would have spent together than the time that he hasn't spent with Kamala Harris. So where do you think that the relationship and authenticity factors matter in this decision?
Well, I think Joe Biden, more so than most politicians, probably measures that factor, right? People describe him as tactile. He's definitely very deeply intertwined with people, likes being personal, likes having that personal connection. So that what you just described is perfect. I mean, it is suggestive that he may go back to the old playbook and choose Susan Rice to be his running mate. I do think that the race becomes more interesting in that way, which is to say this will be a return to the status quo. That if you're going to assess the Biden campaign and you have a ticket that's Joe Biden and Susan Rice, I think that they want people who supported Obama to support them on that basis. But it's also going to make a lot of people nervous that it's going to return Washington to the same place that put Donald Trump into office in the first place. Yeah. So I do think that there are some liabilities here with either of these picks.
All right, guys, we're out of time, but I want to do this real quick, starting with Lindsay. Do you think Biden said he's going to have a pick by the end of this week? Lindsay, yes or no? Does he do it?
No.
Mark Halperin.
I'll pick a week from Saturday.
Vince.
It'll be 2 weeks from today.
Oh, wow.
So I agree. I don't think he's going to be able to pull it off by this weekend. Anyway, thank you guys. We'll soon find out how right we are or not. See you soon.
That's right. Thanks, Sean.
All right. Well, the Washington Post has to issue a correction about President Trump. We'll tell you all about it next. Stay with us.